All right, what up, you guys? Sam Sim once again. Um, I was just looking at another video from New Possibilities, and something he brought up actually just struck a nerve, and I can speak on it based off of experience. And I guess since I no longer work for Vital Statistics, I can address this. Back in 2002, I worked for the state of Louisiana. I actually worked for Vital Statistics. I worked the front counter for like 3 weeks, and my main job was like in the back office where I would amend a lot of birth certificates. I would do corrections for birth certificates. So basically, if you needed your last name changed, and you had the funds and you had the judgment of name change approved by the courts, then you can have your last name changed. So there was a man who walked in. His name was John Williams, and he was requesting to get his last name changed to Muhammad. Um, he had the paperwork. He had the $25 to get his name legally changed. And at that time, I was upbeat. I was a young guy, just started working, and my grandmother worked there as well for Vital Statistics. She was on her way out the door. She was retiring, and um, I had to go and pull this birth certificate for Mr. Williams. So I got him out of there pretty fast. Months went by. Then there were a mass amount of shootings in Washington, D.C. There was a couple in Virginia. And if I'm not mistaken, there were some in Alabama as well. So they credit this particular guy as the D.C. sniper. And a lot of us, especially my grandmother and I, we were hoping that it wasn't a black guy that was doing this. We were confident that it was going to be a white man. And we were wrong. When they found him, and it was a black man, we were disappointed. I mean, the disappointment back then was terrible. Anyone who can remember. So I want to say some time went by. I don't know, about maybe 3, 4 months. I know he was going to trial, but the FBI came to my office over on Padres and Loyola, right across the street from City Hall in New Orleans, Louisiana. We had FBI all through there, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So, make a long story short, at I guess, the last hour and a half of the day, I was called in the office by my manager, and we actually had the state register in there as well, and my grandmother was in there. So I was like, "Oh shit, what is going on?" I thought I was gonna get fired because I always worked hard. There, I was always upbeat, worked laps around everyone, and it was only because my grandmother worked there as well, and my grandmother she was there for a while. She was on her way out the door, retiring, and I didn't want to do anything to let my grandmother down, especially. I mean, my grandmother and I, we start our shift at the same time, and we end our shift at the same time. I wasn't doing anything to let my grandmother down. I mean, I give my grandmother the utmost respect. So I'm in there with her, and I'm like, wow, what the hell is about to go down? And the state register, she's like, no, no, you're okay, Sam. You're not in trouble. You did everything you were supposed to do. I just wanted to let you know that the FBI was in here in regards to the DC sniper, which was John Mohammed, John Williams, John Mohammed, and you were the one who pulled the certificate to have it amended. And I said, wow. And she was explaining to me that once a person is convicted or placed on death row, their birth certificate is delayed. So they came in, the FBI came in, and they went to pull the certificate and found out that recently, before he went on his mass shooting, that he got his last name changed from John Williams to John Mohammed. Right? So you're speaking to the man who actually, had the certificate pulled for him to have it changed, and I had to go inside of my grandmother's department as well to, just review extended documents and other legalities that basically required him to get his last name changed. And like I said, I only worked that front counter for 3 weeks. At the time, there was a lot of rude women who worked that front counter. Big time rude. In the corrections department, in the front counter where people just came to get their birth or their death certificate, in the adoptions department. I mean, there were some rude black women at the time. But just for the 3 weeks, I don't even think it was a full 3 weeks. It was like a week and a half that I did it, and it wasn't for the full day. I met this man, and he had all of his information, and I was able to fully assist him. I was able to fulfill his request, and me and the state register, we actually kind of joked about it. Not really joke, but she made the statement that if you treated him, with any type of disrespect, or if you were rude to him, there's no telling. He could have came on Padres and Loyola right inside of the state office building and shot us up, and I would not be here right now making this video. And I was like, yeah, man, that is something else. That's crazy, and it always stuck with me, still to this day, to kind of remember the cases that I work on, because I've helped people in child support and spousal support, and even at the bank firm. I've assisted so many people with detrimental situations, and I always tend to remember their cases, and remember, um, where I left off at. I'm always able to empathize with them. I'm always looking for a way to help them out. I'm always looking for a way to kind of like, I don't want to say bend the rules, but I always look for the way where I can help them out to get them where they need to go, to meet them halfway, so I won't have to deal with these type of issues. And wow, I see a wasp in my house. I don't know if it's in or outside of the window. I'm just looking at the window and I see it, so sorry. But it taught me a lesson to just make sure going forward that you are definitely able to look out for people's best interests, because you never know who you're dealing with. A couple things I wanted to say, I forgot. It just slipped my thought just that fast by looking at this wasp. But Charlemagne, he gave Stevens the donkey of the day, and rightfully so. He deserved it. And Charlemagne basically said the same shit I said about empathizing with people and just stopping to hear someone who is in need, and if they're asking for your help, then, or they're asking for some advice, or they're asking for a lending ear, just provide it and empathize. I'm using the word empathize so much, but yeah, definitely show empathy to these guys. And I'm pretty sure that the elderly black man that Steven shot, from listening to his family, it sounds like that man would have easily stopped to listen to Steve Stevens. Probably would have just gave him the shirt off his back if he needed it. So, I mean, that's just terrible. It's sad. But, yeah, I had a personal experience before with people like that. People who, they were just fed up with life and just didn't give a fuck. And decided to just, go out on a whim and kill innocent people. But there can always be that one person that can help. I mean, I wish I was able to talk to John Williams at the time. I wish I was able to, pinpoint, well, man, this guy seems like he has a problem, man. I got to help him out. I got to, give him some type of advice, because later on, I found out some of the victims that he murdered. One of the guys was actually a colleague of Dr. Claude Anderson, and they were starting up this organization called Mata Time. And at the time, I was working with this organization called Critical Resistance. And basically what that organization was a group of people that were working to free political prisoners and individuals who were incarcerated, and they were, placed in jail unjustified. and I worked for them for about, and this is like voluntary work, and I did this for about like 4 years before moving to Ohio. And that's around the time I was able to meet a lot of people in the Shakur family, and I worked, with organizations in the Treme area in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I learned a lot about just learning about people's problems and where these problems come from, and um, working on ways to develop solutions. So a lot of customers that I've come across throughout my work tenure, I always do that. I always put myself in their shoes and give them the best solution from my standpoint, from my point of view, instead of just pointing the finger or walking off like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. That's just the selfish attitude that I guess we as people in this day and age we have. But I wasn't raised like that, so I could never be like that. But the DC sniper, when I found out that he killed this brother who tried to start my tie, and I forget his name, it's at the tip of my tongue right now. But I mean, this was an educated brother. He was an older guy as well. He was in his 50s, and he was working on building jobs in the black communities. He was working on, black progress. And here we got a black man going on a mass shooting hunt. And, one of the brothers that could have potentially led us as a people in the right direction, he murdered him. And for that, I was pissed off about. And like I said, I'm trying to remember this guy's name. But I have another video that I have called My Thai Time, and he's actually on the video. Yeah, I actually found it, and it's dated from 2001. And like I said, he was killed as well in the DC massacre. So that's just my personal experience dealing with mass murderers and shit like that. It's rare. And sometimes I talk about it, like I use that story, I want to say twice. I used it for a promotion because one of my managers asked me, well, how were you able to resolve a situation which turned out positive for either your office or your department? And that was basically my story, because for a while I was telling my grandmother, like, man, I got to tell people this shit. This story got to get out, man. And she was like, no, you don't want to say anything about this here, But now, since I no longer work for Vital Statistics, I can go ahead and put that story out, So that's it, you guys. Just wanted to share that quick story with you. And this is Sam Sim checking out. You guys be cool. Peace.